Over 1,000 mostly white young girls in the English town of Rotherham were systematically groomed, trafficked, beaten and sexually abused by rape gangs consisting of mainly Pakistani men. A new report confirms that the local Labour Government Council and the police covered up this horror because they were afraid of being characterised as racist and politically incorrect. The majority of the perpetrators were from minority ethnic communities. The majority of the victims were white British children. The victims were treated as liars by the police and their complaints were buried. This same council then removed children from the custody of loving foster parents because they were members of a rival political party, UKIP, which opposes immigration and has denounced Labour's cover-up of the Rotherham rape scandal. But as the Telegraph's Dan Hodges points out, the abused children of Rotherham were not victims of political correctness. They were victims of racism. The girls were specifically selected by the Pakistani men because they were white. They were seen as easy meat. Their so-called white privilege didn't help them at all. In fact, it was an integral reason as to why they were targeted by the criminals and then abandoned by the authorities. So we have criminal rape gangs being protected by the authorities because of their foreign ethnicity. Meanwhile, we have young girls being beaten and raped, then ignored, labelled liars, and left defenceless because they're white. So I ask the question, where was their white privilege? Instead of being an advantage, it was a key factor as to why authorities covered up the scandal. But isn't it heartening to see legions of feminists decrying the plight of these victimised young girls? Oh no, that's right, they were busy manufacturing rape scandals that didn't exist, while ignoring one that was actually taking place and being actively covered up by the government. Apparently to feminists, a rape scandal is only a rape scandal if the perpetrators have white skin. If the culprits are brown and the victims are white, it doesn't exist. There's that much vaunted white privilege once again. Television discussions and reports about this scandal by the BBC continue to deliberately omit the fact that the perpetrators were mostly Asian men, with Britain's de facto state broadcaster playing its role in the cover-up. And how did supporters of the Labour Party council in Rotherham that buried this scandal react to the Casey report? Did they protest outside council offices? Did they demand resignations? No, they demonstrated against UKIP's Nigel Farage for daring to travel to Rotherham to try to draw attention to the issue. That's right, in the name of demonstrating against bigotry, or bigatry as they called it, they acted like a bigoted fascist mob to prevent Farage from exercising his freedom of speech. The Rotherham rape scandal destroys the myth of white privilege. The victims were victimised because they were white. The rape gangs got away with it because they weren't white. Thanks to decades of social engineering, race baiting and political correctness, this marks the beginning of white people being treated as second-class citizens because of the colour of their skin, the very definition of racism. Now we see political correctness for the threat that it truly represents, not just as an irritant or a hazard to free speech, but as a direct peril to the functioning of a just society.